The engine
Thank you.
that, that gets you there, right? What's going on in the mind behind a top leading CEO like that? And it's important because there's some key things you notice up there.
The longevity, sustained energy.
Yeah. The more you tap into those kind of things and see those kind of things, you'll be able to create that in your own business, right? I think that's awesome. Well, in closing, we're getting late, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one last thing, and then we can open up to any kind of like issues you may have for yourself, or we can just go straight into strategy sessions privately, and you can just sign up with Jessica if anybody wants to do that with us. Here's my thought. So, first of all, let's just do a review. Let's do a really good review here. Number one is, do we see a lot of fantastic strategies to grow our business? Okay. We have everything from strategic partnering, focusing on innovation, focusing on marketing, clarity, leadership, becoming a thought leader, leading marketplaces, Steve Jobs formula, publicity, right? We've learned everything from how to focus, right? And be in it, in our mindset. We've learned about talent acquisition, talent management, talent recruiting, right? And talent evaluation. We've learned about how we have to get crystal clear on our message for our clients, crystal clear on our message for our marketplace, crystal clear on our team on what we want them to do when we create each job position. I just had a mishire a few months ago. Wasted a ton of money, and more importantly, didn't make a lot of money because of what that person didn't do, right? So there's, every wrong hire is a big problem. So, but you know what? It wasn't her fault. I vetted her for 6 months. I vetted her for 6 months. But the problem was, what was the problem?
Personality?
No, the problem was
Clarity?
that it just slipped my radar that she just was not very technical. And almost everything I do is technical. And it's just like, I can't believe it. She had a great personality. Her character was off the charts. We were in sync with all our philosophies and corporate culture. She knew the industry that she was focusing on really well. She knew, she was really good at it. But literally in the end, it took us twice as long to do everything because she couldn't handle the technology stuff. Because it's all got to be integrated with the way we, I couldn't believe it slipped our plan. In the meantime, she's still good friends with ours and all that, but it just didn't work out. So we've learned about clarity and leadership and doing the thinking, the hard stuff that a leader has to do, right? So we learned about these different strategies. We learned about the circle of growth. Let me ask you a question. All the stuff we learned, if we actually practiced it in our enterprises, would be off the chart successful, right? If we started doing some of the things that Kevin just talked about, would it be off the chart successful? If we started taking clarity and focus and acting on those things and with discipline and focus, and would we be off the chart successful with all this stuff? The answer is absolutely, right? Now, I like to end most of these masterminds with something really profound, and it's because it's the reason why I do my business. So it's really important for me, and it's also for you. There was a guy named J. Paul Getty. We actually went by his house on the way up here from Los Angeles, or one of his houses. I'm sure he had a lot of them. And we were actually on the beach all day on Saturday, and we were overlooking one of his houses. And it was really kind of interesting, but this is how I ended. I always talk about him because ultimately he was the richest man in the world back in the 70s. And he said something quite profound. He said, look, I would give every penny I have. Now, if you have the richest man in the world who actually has the money, and says he'd give every penny he has for something, don't you want to know what that is? Okay. For a great family. For a great family. You have a family, maybe it's a great relationship. Maybe it's a husband, maybe it's a wife, maybe it's children, whatever it is. Maybe it's with your parents, right? Or it could be whatever it is. Ultimately, if we did all this stuff, we created the enterprise of our dreams, but we lost our relationships with those closest to us, that would be a tragedy.
Yeah.
So, the one thing I want to do is I just want to share with you a few minutes about how to make sure that that doesn't happen in your life. Okay? Is that fair that I can do that for you? This is the reason why I do it all, because I actually invest most of my money back into my mission work, which actually helps families have great families. Because I don't want to charge people for that. I want to give that away to them. So and I just don't want anything holding them back from getting the things we can share with them about having a great family. As you know, I have 12 children, a wife, we've been married 26 years, and I learned a lot, okay? And I'm going to give you just a couple of key points. There's no specific agenda, so if you have questions, just ask me. But ultimately, the first thing I learned, really, was prioritize. It's all about prioritize. In other words, I'll give you an example. So I went to, I think I maybe given you this example before. I went to a big meeting, I was speaking, and I interviewed all the speakers, and I found that 80% of them were either divorced or close. And most of them had terrible relationships with their children. Okay, because they're on the road all the time. Okay, and that's what I identified as the reason with it pretty clearly. So I said to myself, number one, this is not going to happen to me. Let me break that down for you. Desire, decision. Okay, two things. Desire, this is not going to happen to me. Not. Okay. Number two, decision. Which is, that's really desire and decision where, you know, the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? And then secondly, you have this decision. It is not going to happen to me. I'm going to burn the ships. You know, you heard that, right? So I said, okay, how am I going to do this? So the first thing I did, at the time I had a nice 10,000 square foot house, 65-acre horse ranch, right? And I had it made, and I used to work out of my house. I had a digital business only. I pretty much worked what I wanted to, right? Eventually created some, what I call orbital campaigns that literally just made money. And so I would go out, but I also spoke in different stages. So I would twice a year, I would take 2 40-day trips. And then I said, okay, they're coming with me. We did one in the spring and one in the fall, and that's all the time that's when I went out. That's the only time somebody can get me to speak. And that worked for a while. And then it became where some of the speaking gig opportunities I got were just too big to ignore. And so on the road, I'm having everybody with me, and I said, hey guys, you know, first we were praying about it, and some other things happened, and it's like, you know, I started thinking about Abraham. You know, he said, leave your father's house and go to a land and I'll show you kind of stuff. And I was thinking, wow, you know what? That sure seems like calling my name, right? To a little bit degree here. And I asked the family, I said, hey guys, would you mind traveling with me? So pretty much we travel almost 100% of the time. Now, that's a big investment when you have that big a family as I do. I have 3 motorhomes. I mean, I have a motorhome. I have 2 buses. And I have an RV, and I got 15 passenger vans with trailers. And I can do different things. I get them all over the country wherever I need them for different times and purposes. I got a bus right now in New Mexico. It's in the process of getting repaired. And we retrofitted it. It's really neat. We actually designed these tables so that everybody can have their own desk, okay? And I have my office, and we have a bedroom for Mary and I, and these bunk bed systems and all kinds. Mary's got her own desk and all kinds of neat stuff. And we kind of built the kitchen. It was going to take them 7 months to actually take this bus and do this. We did it with some friends. Phase 1 in about what? How long did it take us to do phase 1?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Wow. Okay. And we had welders out there. We put these like luggage racks so that everybody's got their stuff on it. And each of these tables, we built these tables. Picture yourself like that, and they go down, okay, and they turn into beds at night. So you can basically have some people laying down, you can have people working.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome. So anyway, but you see, this is about what? Prioritize. Okay? In other words, your decisions in life are not based on whims. They're not based on, other people's needs. They're not based on, you really ought to be doing this. Okay? I'll give you another example. So, I don't know if any of you have children. I know some of you do, but so children thing. So let me just kind of give you the first level I learned with that. So when I first had children, guess what happens? Everybody comes out of woodwork and says, hey, what you should do is. Yeah, exactly. What you should do is. And so me, being somewhat of a thinker, because that's what my focus was always been about, I said, you look at the number one skill in life I believe I need to do is think. So it doesn't teach you, they don't teach you that in schools. I learned that Dewey, the guy who founded the public school movement, said something really profound. He said, look, it's not in our best interest to have free and independent thinkers. So to this day, they still don't teach thinking in schools. Okay, so in the meantime, I said, I'm going to learn thinking. Anyway, so I'm thinking this through, and I'm saying, okay, well, first question is, do you have children? Okay, they want to give me advice?
Yes.
Okay, do you even have children?
Right?
Good
Unless
question,
you
right?
have kids.
Okay, so you need to vet your advisors, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first thing you want to do. And if they said no, then I said, well, at least I knew what category to put the advice in, right? And then, of course,
Garbage.
if they did have children, tell me a little bit about how they're turning out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I could put in the right category. So I decided to not do the things that weren't working.
Yeah.
Now, if they said to me, well, this is what I did do, and it obviously didn't work, now maybe the opposite I could do or something, whatever. But I basically sought out the people who literally had the most successful families. And I said, those are the things I want to do. Okay? And I'm really proud of my family. I actually have 12 children from Jessica, my oldest, and Joy, my second oldest, and Moriel, my third oldest, and Faith, my fourth oldest, all the way down to my little 2-year-old Victoria, who will literally talk your ear off. Okay?
Yes.
I mean, she will talk your ear off, and she will have conversations with you. I mean, I'm in a constant state of amazement when she starts talking about stuff. She goes, Daddy, what's going on with this, and why did they do this, and why did people die? She just said that the other day.
Wow.
It's like, why did people die? It's like, yeah, it's a long answer though, sweetie. Okay. So anyway.
At 2.
You got several other people you can just kind of, okay, so.
Exactly. So,
Talk to your sister.
exactly.
He does. He does. But his famous answer is talk to your sisters.
The world could be like, okay, talk to your sisters to see if they can help you. And it could be the dumbest question. We're like, we're trying to ask you. And he's just like,
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah.
I gotta work on that. So I do have to work on it, and they can probably tell you my faults better than I
Plus
can.
minus.
So the thing is, it's about prioritize. It's about desire. It's about decision. Okay? And if you can do that with whether you have a spouse, whether you have a loved one, whatever, whether you have children, whether you have parents. Daniel's a good example. You know what? I was really proud, just like I'm proud of Kevin, okay, for how he took children who have messed up, and he took them in to even get a second chance. That is awesome. That's prioritize, right? Suffer for yourself so you can invest in somebody else, right? Daniel did the same thing. His dad was in really bad shape, about 6 months ago, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, he's doing better now.
Is he?
Yeah.
But he was there for him, constantly was there for him, okay? Good son, right? See, we have to take that to heart. You said that little statistic you had about those
85%.
Yeah. Another guy, he was kind of like a person who counseled people in prisons. 30,000 people in 20 years that he saw in prisons, right? Men's prisons, because usually they get the guys going to men's prisons. And he found not one of those guys had a great relationship with their father. Not one of those guys. Okay? It was really interesting. I found this really amazing because there's, like the Jewish community in Florida. This was in Florida. It was really interesting. So, in all of the Florida state prisons, okay, there was only 13 that were Jewish. Now that's amazing.
Wow.
13, that's it. Now, he said, he looked at all the details here, and he found that all 13 of those had terrible relationships with their father. Now, that's not normal in the Jewish community. They have really great relationships with their father. So you see how well that worked. There's a few, obviously, that didn't work, right? Because they didn't have that relationship. Now, you look at the other side, in the black community, it's well known, okay, that they don't know their fathers, or they have terrible relationships, that whole thing, it's rampant, it's an epidemic, okay? And 80% of the Florida prisons were black. Where only 10 or 12% of the population was actually black.
Oh.
So that tells you what's going on about the need
For family.
for fathers to take responsibility for their children. And they need the mothers as well. I think the greatest job in the world is a mother's job, okay? But at the same time, a child needs a father and a mother. So for you who are fathers, okay, we have to take responsibility, okay, and lead those children into a society as upstanding children, okay? Upstanding, in that case, men. And also mothers have to do that with their sons in a different way because we get our identity from our moms. There's a lot of other things like that. It's about taking responsibility, right? It's not just about the biological process of being a father
Right.
or a mother, right? Or even a child. It's about taking responsibility. Do not allow yourselves to become billionaires, but to be family broke,
Right.
right? There's nothing more pathetic than a billionaire who's broke, right? It's pretty sad. Absolutely. I train them, I guide them, I lead them, I pray with them, I sing with them, like things like that. Could I do better? Absolutely, you can ask them. Okay. In the meantime, it's about priorities. If there's anything I could tell you about it, it's about priorities. Now, if it's for those who aren't married or don't have some situation like that or don't have children, then hopefully you still have a parent around. Okay? So one of the things you may have a challenge in any of those relationships. It could be an estranged child from a next.
There's tons of kids around too.
Pardon me?
There's tons of kids if you need one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so there's all that kind of stuff.
Plenty of kids in need of a parent.
Absolutely. So here's, first of all, first in the biological realm, I'll deal with that first. What you need to do, it's never over. It's never over. I read honor thy father and mother as a commandment, one of the Mount Sinai, right? There's no like, in after 20 years old, it's over. Okay?
Right.
It's never over. You know, some people, we had a story, and Jessica was maybe 5 years or 7 years old. And this lady was with my wife, and they were playing. And the way we were teaching Jessica was different than the way this lady was teaching her child. And after about 3 or 4 months of them playing together, the lady says to my wife, you know, when she's a teenager, she's going to rebel if you keep on making her do that stuff. Right? And we're like, so be it, right? Because we're still going to do it. And she goes, well, we'll see. And we say, yeah, we'll see. Then we heard other people saying, you know, when she's 18, she's going to be out of there. Right? If you take leadership job of a parent and lead your children to make the right decision, she's going to be out of there? I don't think so. Okay. And so, we'll see. Well, as you can see, okay, now that she's there, and every one of my children is there. They all live with me in my house in very trying circumstances. I mean, we live on the road almost all the time. Okay, it's not an easy life now. They support my business, they support their dad, they support our family, and all of that. You know why? Because they know it's the right thing. They understand what true family is all about. They're being led to carry this on like the millennials, right? Olivia was born at the turn of the, she was born at, she's 16, so she was born in 2000. You know, and so ultimately we have to take responsibility for leading our children in the right direction. Now, if we happen to be a child of a parent and we're not married, we're not children, anything like that, now let's just say you have an estranged relationship with your dad or your mom, right? We have to take the responsibility of fixing that. It's never over, never, okay? Honor thy father doesn't have a deadline, okay? And it's not because they're honorable.
There you go.
Right? It doesn't say honor thy father and mother as long as they're honorable. No. I was actually reading, you may find this interesting, I was reading on this one, it was, you know, I'm not physically Jewish, but I basically follow this, I follow the Bible, both the Old and like the New Testament, if you want to call it that. And so I practice the laws of keep the feast days, the Sabbath, all that kind of stuff. So bottom line is, but I was reading on a site, which you find this interesting, it was really powerful. And they were talking about respecting, I think it was kabbalah.org, I think was what the site was. Anyway, they were talking about honoring parents. And while I don't agree with everything of the different, Jewish sages and stuff like that as far as interpret, but they didn't agree with each other, so it's okay to say.
It's true.
Okay? So
Always
here's the,
say 2 Jews, 3 opinions.
exactly, you got it. Exactly, yeah. So here he was talking about respect for your father. And it was really interesting because it's actually, this is the example. If you were leading a meeting, a business meeting, in front of a bunch of people, and your father came in, tore your garments, and spit in your face, that you would not even show your disapproval of his actions in front of anyone else. That's the level of honor that they proposed. Now, whether that's the chart's awesome or great or even crazy, the fact was it shows you what level of honor could exist if we decided to adopt that. Okay? I thought that was the higher road, so I decided to adopt that. I think that the fact is, what? Can I be that honorable to my father and my mother, regardless of how honorable or dishonorable they were? I said the answer was yes. And I also thought that it didn't make any difference because I believe in the Creator, so I believe that command came from Him, so I believe I'm honoring the Creator by honoring that command. Mm-hmm. So it has nothing to do with my father.
Right.
It has to do with me and doing the right thing regardless, right? It's about standing alone regardless of what anybody else says, what everybody else thinks. They can say, well, why don't you just tell your dad off, right? You see, it's not about that. It's about being different. It's about taking responsibility, being a great husband. And you talked about your wife a couple times. Okay, most men don't even talk about their wives during business meetings. Okay, that's honorable. And you know what? Your job is to lead her into a great place in a great marriage. Most men are screwballs when it comes to being good husbands. I mean, I was. Okay, I was. I'll tell you another story. I'm sitting. No. So it was the third time we had a third child. Actually, Moriel was just being born, I think. Okay, it's like 18 years ago. She's 18. You're 18, right?
19.
Sorry. 18 years ago. Okay, I remember. We've had all home childbirths. I caught her and so she's just born. Mary and I never had an argument for the first 3.5 years of our marriage, plus the 1.5 years I knew her prior. 5 years, we never had an argument. Of course, as soon as we had babies, that got to be a little bit challenging. And of course, I knew nothing about being a father or a husband with children and all that. She used to work in my business, so now all of a sudden I'm not with her as much. In fact, I'm a workaholic, working 80 hours a week, never home, right? She's like frustrated as all get out because we don't get any time together. We took off 1 day a week because I keep the Sabbath and all that. And so ultimately what happens is, right after Sabbath, we do it at sunset, right? The next morning at 6 a.m., I'm already out the door, on my way to work on Sunday, right? She couldn't believe it. She lost it. She's like, so she starts praying. She just says, Father, I don't know what to do about this. She says, this is crazy. I can't live this way anymore. She thought she was pregnant with faith, but she wasn't. But she thought she was pregnant. So she says, you're going to have to help me here because, and she cried out. And so it turns out now, I'd already been gone and, didn't do nothing about it. I'm at work that day, working. Now, I always read in the bathroom, okay? So I'm reading this book about the 12 riches in life. There's actually another Napoleon book, Grow Rich with Peace of Mind, I think it was. Okay. Anyway, it had in there the 12 riches in life, right? And I'm reading the 12 riches this day, as it turns out. So, riches number 1, positive attitude, it was up on your list there. This is number 2. I had that. Wow, that's awesome. 3, I had that. 4, I had that. 5, I had that. 6, I had that. 7, I had that. 8, I had that. 9, I had that. 10, I had that. 11, I had that. 12. Financial security. It's like 12 years ago. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was jeopardizing all these awesome riches that I had for the one that I didn't. By trying to work 8 hours a week. I just couldn't believe it. Came home that night. Basically crying. I told my wife, I said, look, I had a terrible husband. I'm sorry that I did this. I moved my office home. I said, I'm going to work at home now from now on. And I went from 80 hours to 70 hours to 60 hours to 50 hours a week. Okay. And so I stopped being workaholic, and I I worked at home. So she would say, the good news is he came home. The bad news is he came home. And that's another story about how we live and work at home. But anyway, the thing is that that's what we had to do. So we had to make the hard decisions. Is it 10 times harder to run a business, especially the kind of business I run, at home? Yes. Is it difficult with 12 children in your home? Yes. Is it difficult to run a 12-child plus husband and wife, 14-person family, not only at home, but where now your home is on the road?
I don't know how you do it.
Okay, I don't know how I do it either, but okay, it's about it's about the decision. Because you know what? There's certain things you just can't compromise. See, compromise creates the habit of compromise, and it becomes a slippery slope into doing everything that you shouldn't do, which means eventually you have a screw-up family. Just the way it is. You will compromise, by getting away from them. You'll compromise by working longer because you can't do it in our presence, and you don't want to. It becomes compromise. You got to just keep on it, right? So if you're having a problem with your father, you're having a problem with your mother, never, ever, ever give up, right? As who said? Winston Churchill, right? You've heard that story?
Yeah.
Where he basically went, to his 7th grade class, right? And I think they claim he may have been drunk, but regardless of that, the thing is, he went up there and he said, and the whole, thousands of children are there, and he said, please, Mr. Churchill, could you give us the most profound wisdom of, that you could ever, tell us? And he says, never, never, never give up, right? So you can never give up when it comes to creating or trying to have a great relationship with your family. Whether it be your father, mother, possibly even ex-husbands, or children, or ex-wives, or anything else. You don't have to spend time with some of those, right? You don't have to be friends with them on a daily basis, some of those things. But when it comes to biological parents and biological children, that's a requirement. You have to do something there. You have to make that a priority, and you have to be cordial with everybody else. Never give up. Be the friend you can be. Now let me give you another piece of advice. I was watching a movie, which is related to this, so I'm not going to give you the name of the movie because you can't remember it. But this guy, believe it or not, killed his father in the movie. It's yucky, but. And so the psychiatrist in the prison, he's going to jail now, right? And the psychiatrist said, he must have really hated your dad. And he said, no, not at all, I love my dad. And he said, well, he goes, well, it starts back, I'm 12 years old. And he goes, and we were at this amusement park, and my feet were tired. So what happened was I said, Dad, my legs are really tired. Can you carry me? And he said, sure. And he put me on his shoulders, and he carried me for a long time. And I could tell that he was really, really tired. And he said, hey, son, can I put you down now? And he said, well, my legs are still tired. And he carried me longer. And this happened several times, and he kept on carrying me longer. And I knew that his legs and his neck and shoulders were getting tired. But he carried me the whole day. And I knew that my father loved me. It's crazy. Because I'll tell you what Jim Rohn said. You'll like this. What it is? So Jim Rohn. Yeah, Jim Rohn said this. He said, look, positive thinking is awesome. Okay? He says, but you know what? It's a little overrated in certain areas. He said, look, sometimes you need a little dose of reality. Like put it on your refrigerator, I am broke. But make it positive, okay? But I'm not gonna stand, I'm not gonna keep it that way. So I'm broke, that's reality, that motivates you to get going, but it's not the end of the story, right? He also said something pretty, I just gotta say this because it's funny. He says, it's not about motivation. Because if you have an idiot and you motivate him, now you have a motivated idiot, right? Okay? And that's dangerous. And so what we want to do is we want to not be idiots, okay? Then we want to motivate ourselves to do the right thing. So ultimately what the right thing is in regards to family is make the right decision. Make it a priority like Daniel has. Make it a priority like Kevin has. Okay, I know you have as well. I've seen that. You just talked about 3 times this day about it, okay? I know my children have. I know most of you guys and hopefully have. And if you have challenges with that, talk to Jessica. If you need to talk to me or my wife. If you're a lady, I usually have my wife talk to, if you need help with, we do marriage counseling, all that, just grant us because of, but we don't have that much time for it. But people who are fairly close to us, well, we can help you with certain issues if it's helpful. Anyway, just wanted to leave you with that note because hopefully I invested in what will make your families something powerful for the rest of your lives. Hopefully that I've inspired you to act on something that will either continue on the great places you're going with it or to just rededicate yourself to at least the cause of that or to maybe change it if it needs to be changed to something beautiful and awesome. So that's what I wanted to end with. And I think we're pretty much good. Did we good for the day? Okay, you guys are good. Everybody, did you enjoy the day here?
Yeah.
A couple days?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If that was helpful for you, we like to invest. Kevin and I wanted to invest in your life, and your business. And hopefully we've done that. And, we can call each other for anything we may need in the future. If you